Hey everyone, welcome. What you see next to me is my main workstation PC. I use this one for editing my videos, play games, and I use it for virtual machines. This is the Ryzen 7 2700X on a motherboard from Asus, the Prime X470 Pro, 16 GB of G.Skill sniper memory, 3600 MHz, an NVMe SSD from Samsung, as well with a SATA SSD from Samsung, a couple of hard drives. The graphics card is from KFA2. It's the GTX 1080 Extreme Overclocked, and below that is the Creative X-Fi Extreme Audio sound card. The cooling on this PC is, I'll start with the water cooling. That's from Deepcool. It's the Captain 240EX RGB, did a video on that as well. And on the front we have two intakes, 2x 140mm, and on the back I have the exhaust. Lately I got the Philips Momentum 4K 43-inch gaming monitor, as you can see in the video now. I use this for playing games. A 1080 just isn't powerful enough for this, so I went with this approach. Expand it with a second GTX 1080 Extreme Overclocked, also from KFA2. Yeah. It doesn't only look clean and, rather powerful. It is rather powerful. The games I play, well, most of the games do support SLI, so that isn't an issue for me. I have the high bandwidth bridge, as you can see, from a gigabyte. So that works really well. So I wanted to wait what AMD came up with this year. Later this year they will release the new CPU. It will be the 3000 series. I'm not going to wait till that. Normally I change my computer, well, mostly every year, and I upgrade it to something faster. That's the whole idea. This one isn't a very good bargain, I will say you that much. Very special package. It's the 9900K. It wasn't planned. I'm actually quite curious in how this one performs in comparison to my 2700X. And as I mentioned before, this is not a bargain. This CPU I bought for 555 euros. That's more than 200 bucks over the 2700X. With this, we need a motherboard. And for that, I went with this one. From Gigabyte, it's the Aorus Z390 Pro. Yeah, I will do the benchmarks in another video, otherwise this will get way too long, and I can't wait to start with this. So let's start with the CPU. Nice, a fruit bowl and another one. Of course, the main product, the heart of our computer, again, only this time from the blue team. So the CPU, well, this doesn't look that exciting, but it's really a fast one. Yeah, can read it. A nice sticker as well. To the motherboard. Yeah. Nice packaging, like you would expect with a motherboard of this price range. This one I bought for 191 euros. Yeah, it's a little bit more expensive than the Prime X470 Pro. I bought that one for, I believe, 169 euros. 2 months back or so, not that long. Let's see what's in the box. We have a motherboard and two little space. We have some monitoring sensors. I think these are temperature sensors, so we can monitor the temperature of our system components. That's one, and we have another one of that. That's two. They included some SATA cables, and it will be the 4 SATA cables, 4 of them. Next we have a RGB header, a connector cable, nicely included. I think we'll need it if I look at the connection type. Then we have another RGB header cable. Looks like an extension cable, but we have to see. Then we have a front panel header. Basically what this does, it's nothing more than a dummy. You put your front panel connectors in, and then you click the connector as a whole thing on your motherboard. yeah, if you need it, if you want it, you can use it. We have some M2 slot screw, yeah, for installing an M2 SSD, and a placer for a M2 SSD as well. We have, yeah, see, another one, a screw and a placeholder for the M2 SSD. So we have two M2 expansion slots. Something I missed about this motherboard. It only has, no, it has two M.2 slots, but only one of them is PCI Express. The other one is SATA. Maybe we need to read this. And then we have the manual, the instruction guide of the motherboard. The layout of the motherboard. And if we have a look here at the top, you can install a, I believe, yeah, 110mm M2 SSD, so a big one, and below that is one that goes to 80. It supports SLI as well as Crossfire, so they got you covered, pretty much, with this. And we got a installation CD. The motherboard. I will put all the specs of this motherboard in the video, so you can read it, and I will put a link in the video description as well. We have a USB 3.1 header. As I mentioned before, the M2 SSD slot. We have a x16 slot, another x16 slot. If we use this in a SLI or multi-GPU configuration, they will be downclocked to 8 times. Then we have a second M.2 slot, and this one is 80mm, 110mm. Below this is the chipset. We have the CMOS battery, amp up audio. I think this is a Realtek audio chip. Don't know for sure. Front panel audio connector. RGB header, SPDIF out. Next to that is the RGB header. I believe next to that is another RGB header. We have the TPM connector. We have another USB front panel connector and another USB front panel connector. Another 1, 2, 3 system fan headers. Let's move over to the I/O of this motherboard. We have 4 USB ports. We have an HDMI output. We have another USB port and another one. This one has plenty of USB connectivity. USB 3.0, 3.1, USB Type-C. We have 7.1 audio with Toslink SPDIF out. We have a gigabit Ethernet connection. Yeah, pretty much Gigabyte got you covered. If I forget something, I will make sure to leave some info in the video description, and maybe I will put some additional info on the screen for you to read. So this is the motherboard and the CPU. Let's start installing this and get the Ryzen out of this computer. I did some benchmarks earlier. Just to make sure I have some nice comparison for you. I use the same SSD, I use the same graphics cards, the same airflow in the system for the temperature, the same power supply. I forgot to mention the power supply I use. You can already see it on the video. It's a Corsair RM850X. Got it a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month or so. Really nice power supply, really cool. It should be more than enough for the SLI configuration and the Intel CPU. I don't think this CPU will, at boost, take that more juice than the 2700X, but we will see. As I said, I'm going to clean up the desk. I will do the installation, benchmarking, all that kind of stuff, but I will cover that in another video. So let's get started with the building process. So, I've disassembled the X470 board and CPU and all that stuff. You saw it happening. We have the new motherboard right here, and we're going to start by installing the CPU. Yeah, so we're just pulling up this lever, and we have our new CPU right here. We have a dot, line it up with this point on the motherboard, and yeah, just slide it in. And the cap will, well, yeah, just pop off. Now we will install the CPU bracket, and I disassembled this one from the AMD, of course. And these things, these screws, need to be on the other side. They are now for the AM4 socket, and they need to be fitted for 1151, and that's the one here on the inside. And well, we'll just reinstall them then. So take one out here, install it in here, snap it in place like that. Yes. So what you didn't see with the disassembly of the X470 board is the I/O shield. Of course I removed it. It was still in place when I put the computer away, the computer case, but I removed it afterwards, and I cleaned the heatsink of the water cooler. So now we're going to install this. No. Yes, like this. Way easier to do it this way than to install everything, and make sure these plastic caps go on side of the motherboard so it doesn't damage anything. Yes, like that. These one came from the AM4 installation. We don't need them anymore because, well, yeah, it doesn't fit. So we need new ones, way bigger for Intel. LGA 115X. XX. That's the one we need. And, well, the mounting is exactly in the middle, so it doesn't matter how we install it. That's really nice. Okay, then we get the screws on top in place, like that. If you want to install an air cooler, because they don't deliver a cooler with this CPU, make sure you get a cooler that's qualified to cool 130 watts. Yeah, don't expect to get that much overclock from a 130 watt CPU cooler. But that's the minimum Intel suggests you should install on this CPU. CPU Opta will use this one for the AO pump, and the fan header will be used for the fans to cool the radiator. Now let's install the RAM. I will install the RAM in slot A1 and slot B1 for dual channel. As I mentioned, these are Sniper X modules, 3600 megahertz. Should be more than enough. Way better system than only one lever. Way easier. Yeah, just like that. Nothing more to it. Okay, we need to move the USB, the front USB cable for the USB 3.0 connections. There must be somewhere. Yeah, look, it's a Gen 2 connector. So if you have a front panel with a Gen 2 connector, you can attach it there. The PCI Express slots are 16, but with this one installed, this one goes to 8 and this one goes to 8, and this one is a 16 slot at 4 times the manual says so. I will apply some CPU compound, some cooling compound. I have this. Yeah, it's really cheap. So I don't have anything else. Well, I do. I have this thermal grizzly. It's liquid metal, but I don't want liquid metal on this AO cooling solution. No, I will not use this for this build. I have it, but I will not use it now. No, we'll do that in another video, not this one. The last thing we need to do is install the SSD. It's the M2. It's the first gen, it's the SM951 from Samsung. Just the M2 NVMe SSD. Not the fastest one around anymore. You can get faster ones and they are not that expensive anymore. So this one tends to get really hot. The M2 cooler on the Asus motherboard. Some reviewers were very skeptical about the cooling. It gave the M2 SSD, but my SSD actually got cooler. We have this, and we can place it on our motherboard. It's a new holder for the SSD, so we can leave the original one right in place at 110 and install this one at, well, yeah, 80 millimeters. That will do nicely. And the screw that goes with it. Ooh, protective film. Well, it's just a cooling pad, so we'll see how this one cools. And we install the last screw. Okay, back in place. Well, I will install this now in my computer case, and yeah, let's proceed the installation from the other camera. The installation of the motherboard wasn't without any issues, as you saw in the video. It looked a bit rough, but really I was very careful with installing this. What I could have done better was disassemble the water cooling, the radiator, and then I would have had a more headroom. That was a bit of a hassle. Other than that, I'm pretty satisfied with the result. I don't know if it actually works, I'll tell you that much, but I will test it now after this video. Then I will do the basic setup of the BIOS, the firmware, and then I will install Windows, a clean Windows install. Then I will start benching this computer next couple of days, and combined with the benchmarks of the Ryzen, we'll have a pretty much clear view on the performance difference of these two machines. The Ryzen 7 2700X versus the Intel Core i9 9900K. I will stop this video here. I'm going to play with this one, hope everything will work. Well, if it doesn't work, I will tell you in the next video, and I will edit it somewhere in between this. If this video goes live and the conclusion is this, then everything works, I guess. So I will leave the video at this. If you have any comments, suggestions, maybe some advice, you can leave them down in the comment section. Thank you all for watching and see you in the next one. Bye!